Oh,
Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're tuning in to another episode of the Vulcan Soapbox, aka the safe place. All right, what do I mean when I say the safe place? Oh, safe space. I'm sorry. What do I mean when I say the safe space? I'm gonna tell you what I mean. This is a space where new ideas are welcome, diversity of thoughts is highly encouraged, and this is my favorite part of the show. We have a high tolerance for dissenting views. So join us as we break down the science of analyzing and evaluating various topics in our today's culture. Our goal is to, well, a gift too. So from me to you, our goal is to equip our audience with essential critical thinking tools that will enhance and develop our intellectual virtues. After it's all said and done, you will be better at three things. I promise. You will be able to avoid common errors in your reasoning. Two, you'll be able to evaluate your evidence a lot better. And three, you'll be able to, well, I'll tell you at the end of the show. Again, my name is Enos, your most humble servant. Today, we're about to get into some good topics. I got my partner in crime here, Vulcan. Unmute yourself. Do you mind? Go ahead and introduce yourself.
how's everybody doing today? This is your man Vulcan, aka Logos. Here to kick it for you one more time, talking about critical thinking skills and how to reason. We're breaking things down. Everybody, listen to this. There's no hate. When I'm going through somebody's rhetoric and explanation, elucidation, expounding on different topics, it's never in a way to disparage them or to put them in a bad light. I just want us to be able to choose what's the wheat and what's the tare. They look the same. Sometimes we got to wait to the end to be able to sift them out. But there's some techniques, some tools we have available to us today in logic and reasoning skills that we can use to be able to decipher and discern what is real, what is not. We don't need to be tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine. There are people that will beguile us with eloquence and fancy words and passion and bombastic oratory skills. And I don't want that to be something that gets us so far off of our path because we're so captivated by the personality that we miss the gem of truth that's right before us. So that's what I'm here for, y'all. I'm excited to talk about it. Let's get into it.
Yeah,
Freshly, what you got?
Hey man, it's Freshly Snipes. Y'all already know how I get down. I'm just here to get my shots up, man. Work through this interview with the brothers. Of course, we're not here to say who's right or who's wrong. We're here to evaluate how they're presenting their argument and see if it's beneficial to the public, right? So I want to know is Dame Dash for us or just against them? There's a difference.
Yeah.
All right.
Facts.
Fubu, y'all. So let's go. Let's get right into it. Today's topic we're about to uncover the brilliant mind of Dame Dash, also known as
Brilliant.
brilliant. I say so. Yeah. If you textbook definition, you can actually say he's a brilliant guy. So a brilliant mind. So let's go ahead. His latest
And the
interview
great
will.
interview skills of Willie D.
What's the what's the what's
Highlight.
the textbook definition of brilliant? You know,
I let
I mean,
the chat do that, man. So
the chat ain't say that.
I'll give it to you after in a few minutes. So let's go and get into it. Like Vulcan said, latest interview was with Willie D, third member of the Ghetto Boys. Let's get right into it, y'all. Set it up. Uh,
Willie D Live.
It's
I don't
Willie
like
D,
that.
y'all, back with another
Fake
episode
news.
and instructions to help you through this wild, crazy, beautiful world. In the
There he is.
studio, Damon Dash.
An honor.
You know, your name is, Shaw, you know, it's Damon, and I want to keep it going like Dash. You know, you did that, dog.
Yeah,
You did that.
I appreciate that.
You that dude, man.
Thank you.
You wake up feeling yourself sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pause.
Like every day.
Yeah.
When you get in the ring, you can't get in the ring thinking you're gonna lose.
Right.
Do we still need a definition? We want to go on. Look at you, fresh.
Yeah, I still need the definition.
I do.
You said textbook definition.
Well, I ain't got the encyclopedia. Hold on. I got the. Yeah, I do right here. This is
Exceptionally clever or talented. All right, I'll take that.
Put some respect on his name. All right.
I hate. I'm just asking. I'm just asking the questions that need to be asked, man.
Come on, man. Sharp dude. Come on. With a head that big, gotta have something inside of there, right?
Oh, you on that man top early.
Pause.
You gotta fight, and I'm a person that chooses to do things that come with a fight.
Yeah.
So every day I have to wake up and be like, I got to get ready to fight. So that means I have to give myself affirmations and make sure I'm 100% confident. So yeah,
Come on, man.
I definitely give myself compliments all day.
Phones, man.
I saw the interview that you did with Shannon Sharp, and Shannon kept trying to back you up against a wall about entrepreneurship, ownership. Y'all were talking about owning football teams, the NFL teams specifically. And Shannon said, well, what about the people that don't want to own? And you said something that was so prophetic to me. You said, they don't have to, but I'm going to fight for them and make sure they don't get abused. God damn, bro. Dude. Man.
Hey, pause.
That was heavy.
Pause.
That
Pause
actually sent chills through my body. Because I feel it.
We're going to start this right now.
Bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
start the show with this.
We look at our culture like our family. So if you see someone in your family being abused, even especially if they're being abused by someone else in your family, it concerns you and you feel that pain. Or if you see someone in your family getting bullied, you almost look at it like they're not respecting you.
Right.
So I kind of take it personal. That's the fuel for my fight because I know I'm gonna be all right.
So you're saying we could just say prophetic and it apply however we want it to?
A lot of times, the things that I want to accomplish require people to dream bigger
fellas.
and to
He ain't
think
gonna pause
different.
it. He ain't there.
I don't think people don't know how to dream. I just think they forgot. So I just try to be like, if you don't think about or visualize actually doing something, if you can't see it, it's not gonna happen. If you can't see the W, it's gonna be an L.
Pause it.
So just trying to change mentality and trying to get collectives of people to come together.
What you got for the people?
Man, I already said it, but we just gonna let listen. Willie D said that Dame Dash said something that was prophetic to him, and then he said a statement about they don't have to fight. He gonna fight with them to make sure they don't get abused. Willie D, I don't think you know what prophetic means. Am I nitpicking? Yup. Be intentional with your words. I can't just say anything on Oprah's internet and act like we just gonna accept it.
People. Dame is off to a great start already. He's already set himself up. His virtue signaling, and again, that is no way to say that it's not genuine. I think that in a lot of ways it is genuine, but I don't think it's 100% pure. So that's not that pure, uncut, raw. It's got some cut in there. You know what I'm saying?
It's been stepped on a little bit.
Yeah, but I'm not going to get into the cut right now because he hasn't really dived into it. But one thing I want to say, y'all, part of this show is about words. When he says that my culture, right? We don't have to feel any type of loyalty to a culture. Just think about it. The culture we have today is not the same culture as our slave ancestors. It's not the same culture as the people that were in Africa before they hit the ships that come over here in slave ships. Culture. What is culture? How you're cultivated. Religion. Cuisine. How you dance. How you worship, which is kind of religion part. Your artifacts, your tools. When you were in school, you learned about anthropology, you learned about cultures. These were the things we used these are the markers we use to identify culture. You don't have to feel like somebody that happens to have the same culture as you because they grew up in the same time period as you and had the same exposure to the culture that was given to us, that's not in any way super significant. So when he comes across the people of my culture, us blacks and they hear that as, oh, that's black people. But there are whites who identify with the culture.
Yep.
And there are blacks who don't
Get
identify
into
with
it.
the culture.
Get into
There are
it.
blacks who don't identify with this culture. I always use the classic example of Carlton and Fresh Prince in the same household, both black, both with the same authority figure above them, different cultures.
Very different cultures coming from different perspectives. And to that question, does
Similar
that preclude
blood.
either one of them
blood.
from participating?
Similar blood, different culture.
Right. One was dark, one was light skinned, one was hip hop, one was posh, if you will. Does that preclude either one of them from participating in the culture? And to that point, I want to add a caveat to that. What actions or what history, how long do you have to participate in the culture in order to be considered from the culture? Right? Because if and this is just an example, this is not me saying yay or nay to this, but if we're keeping it a stack, we're talking hip hop from a professional standpoint. Some of these folks been in longer than Dame. Some of these others, if you will. Now, do we count them as guests? Right? We're talking about pioneers. We talk about literal pioneers, people who pioneered parts of the culture. The hip hop as a culture was designed to be the voice of the streets, right? The voice of the unheard. Are we essentially saying that no white person
on the
is
business
unheard?
side and the talent side?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I don't
that we will never really know who they are and what their faces are, but they took chances on hip hop.
Right.
They don't look.
we don't get some of Nas's greatest work without First Light Publishing, right? Without and this is not me giving them credit. I'm just saying, like, what qualifies you to be from the culture? How much grind, how much work do you have to put in before you consider from the culture? Or is it, and I've never heard any of the founders,
the historical record.
Correct. I've never heard any of the founders, any of the OGs say this is strictly for black people, right? Because you got Puerto Ricans, right? You got.
I heard there was a song for my niggas. Remember, don't forget that a song called "Strictly for My Niggas." Now,
I'm just saying, man. When you hear somebody say something like, "This is my culture," right there, a culture vulture, right? Talk about people like a Vlad, right? How much work does Vlad have to put in, right? And if we're talking about, well, he's doing things that are detrimental to the culture, aren't we all?
Got to get his stripes up, man. You got to do some dirt, man.
But what I'm saying, if he's a culture vulture, if he's taking advantage of the culture, right? If he's highlighting the negative parts of the culture, what are we saying about the folks who are being highlighted for negative parts of the culture, right? Are they out? Or is it just because they're black, they can do what they want within the culture? I'm just asking the questions, man.
We go get in. We gonna get deep into that right now. I don't know if we should get into that so much right now because it's gonna get live. You know,
I just put the questions out there, man. I don't have the answers.
Well, I will say this before we move on. Grandmaster Flash, one of the pioneers of hip hop, said that black culture is part of the one of the most culture vultures. Yeah, he said hip hop is the culture vulture society. Not society, but a group. That's what he said. Melly Mel. He's actually said that on DJ Vlad, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, let's
we don't have a lot of original stuff in hip hop, and especially at its outset.
Yep. All right, let's go.
Together means you almost have to fight for them to wake up. But once they do, they're usually in the right trajectory, you know.
How frustrating is that for you to try to convey that type of spirit to our people, to many of our people? I know a lot of us do get it, but some of us, it seems to me that we're always waiting on a leader. We're waiting on somebody else to start it off when the leadership starts within. How frustrating is that to you? To like and especially when you tell people how you feel or what you're thinking, and they try to project their trepidation on you. Like,
well, I have boundaries. My boundaries are, if you're not dreaming, I know that it's a trigger for me. So if you're trying to kill my dreams because you won't fight for yours, it offends me. But trying to coach people or help people that are protecting people that are hurting them and fighting me for helping them, yeah, I mean, I'm human. And it becomes almost, I had to learn not to take it personal, almost like it's a human algorithm that people just generally do. The overcompensation so they don't have to work, because when you have a dream, it comes with a fight. You know, every war comes with battles. Life is a war, and it's a war that we need to win, and it takes years to win it, and it doesn't happen overnight. I don't know any one person on the planet that doesn't have problems or something they have to deal with. The test is how you deal with it.
right.
So again, if I'm gonna be fighting, I don't want no petty problems. I'm not a petty guy. I expect big problems, you know. So when they come, I'm not bothered because I know it comes with the game, and it's always the darkest before the dawn. But I watch people react to things the same way time and time again, and with the same result. So it's like, how could you keep reacting the same way and you don't like the result? How do you expect a different result if you keep reacting the same way? You have to do something different. So wherever you're at right now, unless you do something different, you're going to stay exactly where you are. Whether you like where you're at or you don't, there will be no different result unless there's a different action before it. So this repetitive excuse and entitlement not to work, or especially people that don't work on weekends and holidays, I hate that. I'm like, what do you want a weekend from? A life you hate? I would not stop working until I love my life. You know what I'm saying? Or I was just talking about, like, we're programmed to only go on holidays a couple of times a year. And when they tell us to, even like July 4th is the funniest day to me, Independence Day. And I'm living Independence life. So it's only going to be one day a year that I'm not independent, and I'm going to be independent every other year. So you work for somebody every year.
It's a special Independence Day.
I mean, yeah, special ed Independence Day, but it ain't my Independence Day. It's almost like life, and there's certain things that I just observed that don't make sense. Like, if it's illegal to drive drunk, why is there a parking lot in a bar? That doesn't make sense. It's a trap. You know what I mean? But why is the world set up like this?
Hey, Dave, I need you to bridge it.
Just because someone does something and sets it up doesn't mean it's right if it don't make sense.
Yeah, you hit a home run on that structural work ethic, because I used to do my podcast 6 days a week, and I would take off on Sundays. And I realized one day that I ain't really doing nothing more important on these Sundays. Like, I got the energy, I got the will.
Sorry, I was on mute when I was saying pause. But this is the thing right here. When Dame is saying these things right here, I'm trying to remember the first one. I'll go with the one I remember the most vividly, was when he says, if it's illegal to drive drunk, why is there parking lots at bars or something like that, he says.
Yeah. You don't have to get drunk at a bar.
You don't have to get drunk at a bar. And we got to remember, these are two separate entities. If I want to get a license to sell liquor out of my establishment, I have no affiliation to the governing authorities. Matter of fact, I'm probably not a fan of them because they may shut me down if I don't follow their rules.
Right.
So when he's making this, it doesn't make any sense to me.
He's basically saying if you a bar and you got a parking lot at your establishment, it's a government trap. But they don't got nothing to do with it. We just want people to show up. How they gonna get here? Cars. Like that's what I'm saying. He does this Harlem Slick Talk thing that I'm not against it. I'm not saying you're not for the people, but I don't know if he's for the people more than he is just against. Like, he just says these nonsensical things. And again, you just have to look at his delivery. You have to look at what he's saying if it makes sense. That's what we're trying to say to the people. I'm not saying the parking lot thing don't make sense, but he's trying to make it seem like it's some giant conspiracy when really, if I want you to frequent my establishment to make money, right? It's just a business decision. It's not a conspiracy. People travel in cars. People get places in cars. I need to make my establishment conducive for people to get here. Like, that's it.
And then the independence comment. Again, that's something that happened hundreds of years ago.
Get him.
And he's talking about us now as not being, if we're not entrepreneurs, we're not independent. There's no correlation, folks.
None. He's just saying that thing,
America, it sounds powerful. It sounds, again, if it motivates y'all to accomplish your goals, then hey, let that be the gasoline. Let that be the motivation, the inspiration for you to accomplish your goals. But just keep in mind that logically speaking, the two are completely unrelated.
Correct.
Independence Day was about the fact that America was a New England settlement. Sorry, an English settlement. And America was like, we don't want to go back. We're like it over here. We want to do our own thing.
Separate with monarchy.
It'd be like you owning a business, and then you give somebody the seed money, the resources to be to start their own thing as an independent contractor, and then they go out there and do that, and they go, you know what? We don't want to pay a franchise. No, we want to just do our own thing. But you're using our name, our likeness, and all our resources.
Come stop us.
We're gonna change the name of it. But this all came from us. Y'all won't even be over there without us. Nah. Man. That's what happened there. Now, again, I'm an American. I'm not saying against Independence Day, but I just want you to understand that's what actually happened. Anybody who started a business before, anybody who's understand management, delegation, and stuff like that, if you have somebody that were to go against what y'all y'all's agreed upon parameters for how things were going to work, you'd understand how that would feel to you. Imagine how England felt. And so what that has to do with you now and your goals and being independent or the lack thereof of independence, y'all, come on now. It's sophistry, it's rhetoric. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's empty words. He's just saying stuff to get you hyped because, and again, you have to ask the question when you run into great orators like this, people who are slick with the tongue, if you will, for the for my hood folk, slick about the mouth. You have to think about why they utilize that type of language, why their delivery is like that. Now, I'm not saying it's evil or it's done with any sort of villainous goals in mind, but I think you should still ask the question why. Like, why are you talking like that? Why are you saying things that don't make sense? Are you doing it on purpose, or is it just how you talk? And if it's just how you talk, can I ask for clarification, right? Oftentimes when you hear someone ask Dame for clarification, he just says more nonsensical stuff. He very rarely clarifies because he doesn't, and this is just my opinion, right? From what I've seen, he doesn't really like to answer questions. He doesn't like to clarify what he means. It's almost as if if you don't get it, then it's not for you, which is more nonsensical rhetoric. What you mean if I don't get it? I ask you for clarification. I'm trying to get it.
Very surface level.
Very surface level.
But yeah, so we're ready.
Why am I not doing this thing 7 days a week? I mean, I like to do it. I like doing it. When you think about McDonald's didn't say, okay, we're number one now, so we're going to close on the weekend. They said, no, we're going to open on the weekends. In fact, we're not going to close at 10 o'clock. We're going to close at midnight. And then they decided we're going to have some 24-hour McDonald's open. And so they just keep pushing.
And no block I ever hustled on closed on Sundays.
Right.
We was clicking every day, all day. Right. So, again, there's a control factor as well. So, you're told when to collectively go on vacation. So you actually go on vacation with a bunch of people you was at work with. How is that a vacation? It's just being around a bunch of people in a different environment.
Right.
That's why I don't like going on vacation when everyone goes on vacation. I got to see everybody. Right. It's more of a business thing for me. You know what I'm saying? So it's exactly that. If you love what you do and there's no rules that come with them, you're going to work when you feel. And if you like what you do, you'll do it all day long. If it's your dream, why would you not do it and do it till you're the best at it? So the trick is to figure out what you love to do and make that your profession. But we're trained to do things we don't like. It starts with school.
Pause it. Yeah. Wait. Let me say my thing first, Vulcan, real quick, because mine is gonna be short. I want to point out, hey, chill. Chill. I want to point out that a lot of Dame's opinions that he delivers or that he presents as facts or the way that it should be or the way that it is are purely based on his limited perspective, right? He's world traveled, but the way he's presenting this is you cannot have dreams of being anything other than essentially what he is, right? You can't have a dream. You can't grow up with a dream of being a teacher, right? And the thing is, even his dreams, as big as they may be, have rules, framework, and parameters. Meaning there's certain things that there's certain parameters he has to operate within. Even if his parameters are larger than, say your nurse or your teacher, there's still parameters. There's still limits to what he can do, how he can do it, when he can do
Yeah.
it. He's essentially pissing on people who have smaller dreams as if they're not still dreams, right? If I dream to be a nurse because I love helping people, that dream comes with parameters, right? I can't just take off whenever I want. He's saying like if you can't just do whatever you want whenever you want it, then your dream is trash, which I think is terrible, right? Because he's talking the majority of the people he's talking to are people with dreams who are, according to him, smaller than his. I think it's a bit disrespectful.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you about this a bit disrespectful, and this is my issue with people in general, especially within our community context, is we don't even attempt to square the math with what we're saying. Everybody can't follow their dreams and hopes. If I'm a 5'3" whatever, and I want to be in the NBA, hey, it is what it is. I'm not that athletic, all that kind of stuff. The chances are slim. And we got to think the world has to operate whether or not we reach our goals. We still need somebody to put sand on the roads when it's snowing. We still need somebody to do the HVAC, do the plumbing, do the electrical, do pest control.
Right. We still need
Now,
people to pick up the
I don't
trash. Whose
I
dream
don't
was that?
recall. Yeah, I don't recall any of the people I grew up around or with that brought that stuff up when we're talking about what they want to do when they grew up. But it's necessary occupations. There's nothing wrong with doing a necessary occupation that keeps society afloat and keeps society moving.
Right.
You can be the most wealthiest banker in the world. When your AC goes out, you feel like you're in a third world country or underdeveloped country. And when that HVAC guy comes out,
He's
he
the savior.
is
He's the best.
Superman.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I just think that a lot of these guys who are selling this dream, and I'm somebody who believes in entrepreneurship, believes in following your dreams and your hopes and stuff like that. But obviously,
There's
the more
reality to deal with.
flashy, shiny positions are gonna appeal to us, right?
Right.
That's natural. But that's not a real life. And that's not how our ancestors viewed the world either. Nothing wrong with your father being a plumber, you being a plumber. Your father was a carpenter, you being a carpenter.
Right.
I'm not saying we can't transcend that in whatever way you think is transcending it. But that was a way of life for a large part of human history. In most of the world, that still is a reality today.
I was about to say, what you mean?
So when I hear
It
guys,
still is.
yeah. And so when I hear Dame Dash saying things like that, my concern, and he's a great orator as far as when it comes to communicating entrepreneurship and following your dreams, and he for the most part, as I see it, lives it. But that's his life, and he's excelled in that way. But the thing is that for most of the world, we need people to do regular jobs. The maintenance man, whenever your stuff is going out, if you're in a rental property or you're in an apartment, you need that maintenance man to be thinking about becoming a famous singer. You need that maintenance man to enjoy and appreciate being the maintenance man.
Yeah. And when you're talking about Dame Dash or whatever, who's essentially saying you should be able to do whatever you want. If you can't do whatever you want, then you're not living your dream, right? This is also a man who, at the same time, in almost every interview, and I'm not saying he's out here hating or whatever, because people gonna ask him about it, is talking about how Jay-Z couldn't outgrow him, even though he did, right? He's looking at that as wrong. Like Jay-Z said, I want to be a businessman.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go do it I'm gonna go do my own thing, right? I'm gonna go do something. No one's gonna be able to tell me what to do, right? I'm gonna go do what I want. But because Dame doesn't agree with his method, right? How he did it, who he did it with, because it's not him, right? then that's wrong. So the point of the point of the matter is whether he's right or wrong, whether you agree with what he's saying or not, it's just ask yourself why he's presenting it like this. Why is he presenting it without facts? Why is he presenting this stuff just with basically like hype words, words
Yeah,
that are phrases and words that are meant to get you in. He's essentially in this particular case, in this aspect, he's essentially like Umar or any other great orator out there who's not going to give you the whole story because they need you to believe in what they're saying blindly, in my opinion.
facts.
All right,
Sue Reddy, you got anything to say?
You're trained to sit behind a desk for 8 hours a day while the sun is up in dim light with walls that look like jail and hospital walls. And you're supposed to get used to that and then pay to do it again when you get out of school to get back in college, then pay it off by sitting behind a desk and doing exactly what they trained you to do. And no one that's teaching you business is a millionaire. No one that's teaching you about.
Every month, this Airbnb pays me about $2,700 in semi-passive income.
Music has a hit record.
Hey,
it doesn't make sense.
Money,
so
man,
I got kids in college that listen, and I say,
man.
My son listens to his professor more than me about business. He goes to school for business. I'm like, your professor ever made $1 million? Who pays your professor? So why are you listening to him before me? You know what I mean? Why are you in their school and not mine? I never saw school on any hieroglyphic. Have you?
Absolutely.
I never saw school in any pyramid or any of that. I think parents are supposed to teach their kids. But you're trained to give your child away to an adult you don't know, to teach your kid how to survive in life. And they're not surviving the way you. That's why when I was in school, I was like, I'm 16 with a better car than you. Why would I listen to you? Even though I might have had it for the wrong reasons at that moment, there was nothing that person was doing or had that I wanted. There was no knowledge they can give me. Like, I work with the OSG. That's a couple of hundred Black principals or principals from economically challenged places. And what they tell me and what I've learned, a couple of things. Number one.
Audience, listen to this. Audience, listen to this right here. He's saying that when even though he was getting his money by illegitimate means, the people that was around him couldn't offer him anything. I see we already got, saying player today. Okay. But yeah, so he's saying I couldn't get anything from anybody else. That's a picture of his values, y'all. A lot of us, we all learn stuff from my grandfather, our fathers, our moms, our uncles and aunts. They may not have been wealthy millionaires. See, this is one of those things where you make getting money the litmus test for who's wise, who has information that's worth sharing and learning about. Y'all, that is not truth. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about a poor, wise man saved the city, yet no one will remember this wise man. And that's so true. Truth comes from all kinds of different avenues, and there's different types of truth. When I was coming up, I value people who talked about morality, who talked about things that had to do with integrity and standing on principles that benefit the society, the community, the individual. The guy who made the most money, I would try to learn from him as well, but that wasn't my main focus. I was talking to a guy today that I work with, and he was saying, like, man, when I was growing up in my environment, my favorite person was Al Capone. I love the street guys. I said my favorite guys were Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Our environment that we grew up in weren't that different, but I like the guys who stood on principles and things that I thought were more wholesome values that helped build family and dealt with integrity of character. He gravitated to people that took the easy way out and victimized their own communities. And so my point is just saying this. Dame is saying that unless you had the certain monetary accolades, he didn't think you had anything to bring to the table. Again, my thing for our community is that most of us will never be rich. Statistically speaking, there's no way for most of us to be rich. That's just not how economics is set up. There is a wealth of wisdom in people who are everyday people. The plumber, the HVAC guy, the lawn guy. They're not less of a human being because they don't have the resources that you have. They're not less wise than you, resource you have.
Let me also present this.
These messages, I'll say his last little 10 seconds apiece. I'll say things that this Dame is saying. Again, I think they can be helpful in inspiring some to focus on your goals and be around people that have the same similar values as yourself. But don't think for a moment because somebody didn't have the same financial gain that you have, that's godliness, that's righteousness, that's something to be attained and aspired to, because life is way more than just monetary gain. Think about your slave ancestors. They didn't have no monetary gain. Does that mean they didn't have anything you can learn from? That doesn't mean we can't learn from today. We can't learn from them today, even though we have more resources than they had then. We can't learn certain wisdom from them.
Right. Even their
I
perspectives
wouldn't
are
be
valuable.
I wouldn't be worthy to polish some of their shoes.
Absolutely.
So that's my issue with some of these guys' kind of messages. It makes getting money the arbiter, the metric for who knows, who has something valuable to contribute.
And here's the thing. If you subscribe to that ideology, right? Getting money is king, right? If you're not getting money, then I'm not listening to you. What do we do with a Dame Dash who's telling you all these things, who has over the years publicly either lost money or is getting significantly less money? Wherever his money is, however he has it tied up, whatever his explanation is, based on his metric, based on his rubric of the more money you get, the more I should listen to you. Why are we listening to a man who on the internet his net worth is 100K? Even if you don't trust the internet, at one point in time his net worth was in the millions, right? My whole thing is
Like half a
it,
billion. I think it was
it's at one point in time it was. Now it's 100,000, right?
yeah, half a
However, if he, let's just say he's
it's
hiding his money,
100,000.
I googled it. His net worth is 100,000. He was just in court saying he couldn't afford to pay child support, or not the amount of child support he was. This is not me hating. This is just framing what Dame says and how he says it, right? If he was coming on here and saying, to each their own, everybody's dream is their dream and pursue it with this amount of vigor, I wouldn't have a whole lot to say. But he's not. He's crapping on other people's dreams and saying like your dreams not real dreams. You're dreaming, within the matrix, right? They trained you how to dream like that, and saying like his way is the way. Which, if you subscribe to that, that's fine, right? Dame, you subscribe to your thing. I'm not saying he can't get money how he gets money and define dreams how he defines it. But when you step out of your box and say what I'm doing is right and what you're doing is wrong, that's where I kind of have a problem with it, right? That's why I'm just saying, analyze what the man is saying and how he's saying it, right? Consider the source.
Definitely. I guess it's definitely safe to say that Dame is an anti-established type of guy. Jay-Z, in order to get invited to the White House, you have to believe in the system to a certain degree, right?
Right.
It's not likely that the White House or people, at the time, I think it was President Barack Obama invited him to come there a few times. It's not likely the White House will invite you there if you was an anti-established person. So,
Right.
so Dame is promoting. If you listen to him, he is promoting. Not just promoting, he has a dislike for hierarchies. His most famous interview, well, one of my favorite interviews, I actually enjoyed it when he was on the Breakfast Club. He was saying he was mocking DJ Envy for having a boss.
Exactly.
That's dissing the hierarchy or not having the respect for hierarchies.
Right.
So what's your thoughts on that as far as promoting and not having the respect for hierarchies?
I think his ideology has him where he's at, right? Whether he defines that as success or not, that's cool, right? I'm not knocking what Dame is doing, more so what he's saying and how he's saying it, right? So you're essentially saying anybody who works for somebody is not a success, right? By your definition, that's cool, right? If that's how you define it, but why would you belittle, right, others for doing what they want to do? How do we know DJ Envy is not living the life he always dreamed of? And if he is, are, according to Dame, are we saying DJ Envy's dream is stupid or it's too small or it's not big enough or it's inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, right? DJ Envy is going to pass down some sort of generational wealth to his kids, whether it's ownership or not, right? He's giving his kids the freedom to do certain things that, from a generational standpoint, his ancestors may not have had the opportunity to do.
Definitely,
he's not
like
the
Vulcan
best
said earlier, it's a different.
but yeah. So he's not the best example right now,
Any
given what's
thoughts?
been going on with. Yeah.
You talk about envy. I mean, Charlemagne, but really anybody,
Yeah.
right? Even if you want to look at
facts.
somebody like Jay-Z, right? He's essentially saying like Jay-Z's his success, but according to your rubric, the more money you make, the more we ought to listen to you, right? But every other week we see this man on a pod or somebody's interview on somebody on Beyonce's internet taking shots at Jay, right? Subtle as they may be, he's actually getting worse, right? He's accusing Jay-Z of like stealing people's songs to the point where Guru, a producer we almost never hear from publicly, had to come out and be like, that's not the case. It's like, all right, man, I don't understand. I feel like the same thing with Cat Williams, right? I'm not saying he's not dropping
Guru, put
gems.
some on it.
Exactly.
That's bad.
I'm just asking why are you coming at it like this, right? What do you benefit from this, right? Cat Williams is saying some there's some truth in the things that Cat Williams was saying in the interview. I'm asking, there's a lot of extra stuff going on in there. I want to know what that's for. That's kind of my thing, right? Oh, you could have just given us the gems. What's with the extra stuff? What's with the sauce you put on top, right? Dame has plenty of real world experience as an entrepreneur that he could give to us. Why are you keep getting on these interviews doing it with the extra?
Definitely. You got anything, Vote, before we get back into the video?
Get back in the video.
Let's
He
go.
rolling up his sleeves. He might be finna get to work.
If your reading scores are low, you go into jail. That's the metric.
Fair use.
That's the
Fair
algorithm.
use.
You know. Number two, if you give a kid love, but you don't teach them how to survive or how to read, you're hurting them.
Fantastic point.
Number three, a kid can only retain 45 minutes of an 8-hour day anyway, so their class should only be 15 minutes. So the rest of the stuff they give you was a distraction, the things you don't need to know. A kid is on his phone all day. So why wouldn't you put school on the phone, on demand, 15-minute classes and have it done by...
No pun intended. We listen to Dan. He's saying pause, but go ahead.
Yeah. No pun intended. Now again, I'm a big critic of public school education, but he disconnected two things that aren't necessarily connected. He talks about how somebody can only focus for 45 minutes or whatever it is, and then it goes, so everything else you're learning is useless. That's not true. You know, and again, that's offensive to educators. That's offensive to people who spend time creating curriculum. That's offensive to those who have done their best to create a system to educate the population. So again,
Where's Dr.
I
Umar
think
when
a
you
lot
need
of
him?
this stuff. Where's Dr. Umar when you need him? You know, a lot of us know people who are educators, and they would have a radically different opinion than what he has on that. Now, I agree, especially with African American males and males in general. We have a short attention spans. It's getting shorter and shorter with technology stuff, but we have ADHD. It's hard for us to sit down and focus. The way that education is set up is not advantageous for a lot of us. I'm somebody who doesn't stop moving. Y'all see me on camera. I'm always moving. I'm always doing this right here. I don't stop. When I was in class, it was hard for me to be the focus for long periods of time. That does not mean that the information they gave me was useless. Just because I wasn't listening doesn't mean it wasn't useless.
Yeah.
I meet a lot of people that don't know basic science, don't know basic history, don't know basic math, don't know basic whatever other subject I didn't cover already, history. I don't know whatever one I didn't mention yet, but because they weren't paying attention, and it shows up. So you gotta connect those dots. If we're gonna make that point, Dame. I didn't understand.
Also,
the two aren't correlated.
Also,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish up. No, I was just gonna say. Also, when you think about the standards of the dominant society, right? They have essentially set the measures of what success looks like or how you get to success, right? So for him to be telling folks like they don't need more than that 15 minutes of information, one, that's cap. You're essentially saying like you have no control over your attention span. You can't focus. You can't like. There's not things you can do about that. It's just like if this is how you are, then this is how you are. So what are we doing with the folks who can focus? who can have an attention span that's longer than the 15 minutes, right? That's neither here nor there. But the dominant society says you need K through 12. You need this information that we're giving you in order to operate outside in the real world, right? Even if you don't need that outside of grade 12, outside of high school or elementary or middle school, you do need that information to get
Yeah.
outside of high school, middle school, elementary school. So for him to just dash that type of stuff, that's what I'm saying. Like he just it's just like trigger words that he's saying. Like a lot of stuff he's saying doesn't make sense. Even if his intentions are good, I'm like, say what you mean and not just say things. He's just saying things that sound good. It is weird. Like classes should only be 15 minutes, and anything outside of 15 minutes is unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me, so Dame, you're telling me that all the information that you have for whatever classes that you're going to teach, right? If you're teaching a class on entrepreneurship, it's going to be 15 minutes.
Mm.
I challenge people who have taken that class to say that. I'll look it up. Is it in 15-minute increments? Are you saying that anything outside that 15 minutes is useless?
Mm.
It's just things like that don't line up. Again, not saying that he's not right. Right, he stated a couple, two or three very, very valid points that I agree with, and then you jump into like more nonsensical rhetoric. Like,
Yeah,
stop,
yeah,
please stop just saying things. Is kind of where
definitely,
I'm coming
definitely,
from.
definitely clear example of the hasty generalization. That's what he's doing here with the school systems. Because
Okay.
I got
well,
another one. I got another one too.
all right, because it's a lot of
I was gonna say
trades. Nirvana.
this is the Nirvana fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
The
Explain,
Nirvana
please.
fallacy. This setting up this perfection. Because the school system, the way we have it today, isn't perfect for everything. Perfect for preparing you for the real world.
It's not
Perfect for
good for
how
anything.
our psychology and sociology is set up to where we can get the most out of the education. I challenge to see, could Dame do a better job of creating an education system better than what we have now? We don't
Why
know that.
isn't he?
Exactly. We don't know
Why
that.
isn't he?
Not just for himself, mind you. So it'd be hard for him to show it because not just for himself and his family, that's an individual, but creating a system that's going to be used countrywide that's better for the most people, better than we have today.
Right,
Hey,
white
that's
and
got to
black
be
people,
demonstrated. Yeah, Asians, everybody. It's my
Asians,
hope.
Indians, all of them.
So he has this idealized view, or at least he's bashing the realistic view that we have now about education. I was first of all going to read Nirvana
Description.
Fallacy.
Yeah, Nirvana Fallacy.
Go ahead.
Oh, comparing a realistic solution with the idealized one, discounting or even dismissing the realistic solution as a result of comparing to a perfect world or impossible standard, ignoring the fact that the improvements of the are often a good enough reason.
Yeah. So yeah, y'all can look. We don't have to read it, but if the audience can look at the logical form, and if you want to scroll down, a little bit later, show them examples.
Mm-hmm.
But my main point is saying this right here. When y'all hear people critique things, right? Keep in mind, it doesn't mean they could come up with a better system. We all know all the systems available to us are man-made. They're replete with frailties and weaknesses and strengths as well. So just understand, as critics of all of us are of the public school systems, it doesn't mean that it's some kind of conspiracy against us either. It's the best we have. Just like, I see people as they get older, they may blame their parents because of the way their parents parented. You didn't prepare me for this. You didn't show me this.
I did
Does
the
that
best
mean
I
it's
could.
a conspiracy our parents had to not have our best interest at heart? You know what I'm saying? Or it's like they were frail human beings and the best they could, and the systems that they created for us to follow were not perfect.
Definitely.
Right. So we just
Definitely.
dub everything they tell us.
Yeah.
I real quick was guilty of the hypocrisy fallacy here a few minutes ago. The hypocrisy fallacy is an ad hominem. and it essentially says you not disprove, but you essentially invalidate the argument of somebody because they're not acting consistently with what they're saying. I.e., if Dame really believes in this, why Dame ain't doing it, right? That doesn't mean what he's saying isn't true or what he's saying doesn't make sense just because he's not. So in the spirit of accountability, I got to call myself out for some of this stuff when I do it.
And I hope the audience can
That's
see
good.
that. I hope the audience can see that. Look, we're critiquing, the audience. You'll see us bicker amongst each other and critique ourselves. I mean, us on the panel as Vulcans, and also critique us our own selves, because the reality is this: we're all flawed human beings that at times we are guilty of some of the same things we're accusing somebody else of. And we got to take acknowledgement of that.
Yeah, definitely keep in mind. Why critical thinking is so valuable, and why it's valuable, because it's not about getting things right all the time. It's about correcting your errors in a timely manner. You just saw that live refresh, so that's good stuff. Just wanted, before we get back to the clip, what I was saying earlier, let's not underestimate some of the benefits our school systems have and provide. Like Vulcan was saying earlier, a lot of the jobs, well-respected trades, use a lot of these subjects that we have to participate in school: algebra, geometry, trades, jobs, professions like engineers, architects, air traffic controllers. You can't just go to school for 45 minutes a day and actually master those trades. So let's not underestimate some of those subjects are very needed in a lot of our skill sets in today's job market.
Right.
All right, y'all.
There's nothing to be ashamed about working a job, a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
Right.
To be ashamed about when it comes to that.
That's just the way he's doing. He's shaming you for not being him, for not thinking like him, for not having his same perspective or sharing his perspective, which is disrespectful.
By a person that inspires you, because you might not want to inspire. Why would you waste 8 hours of a day? Really, it's a babysitter. That's what school is used for most parents. But why do parents mostly have to take care or put their kids in school? Because they got to go to work. So it's all to divide. I go to the kids' prisons in Chicago, right? I go to this prison, it's a kids' school in a prison, no windows, no outdoor space. As soon as they get there, they're drugging them up. It's called the CUT program. And the line item is therapy. They tell you the more drugs you take, the quicker you can go home. I'm going through the jail. I'm seeing all of this, and I'm asking the superintendent, because the principal's the one that put me on, and I'm like, they keep talking about de-escalation. I'm like, but what's their reading scores? 4th grade. The recidivism rate will be 100% then. 4th grade, but you're going to put them back in the street addicted to a drug. The only time they can get it back is they get back in the jail with no education. After you just mentally abuse them and kept them breathing recycled air, they don't get to go outside. No therapy. The only therapy they had was white women in there, walking around with jackets around their waist, all in a group. How can a white woman talk to a kid with a body without being scared of judging them? And how can a therapist not know that? So I'm like, well, why are you doing this? Oh, I know why you're doing it. Why you don't even have a black woman, or why is there a man in here to teach these kids how to be men? Because it's a cycle to get them used to coming back. Now, the worst part about it is for every kid that's in that jail, $1.2 million a kid. And the kid can't even...
See, I don't like this stuff because audience, they're victims of this. Why are there no men here? Why are there... Men don't want to do those jobs. That's why. None of my friends want to be teachers. I do have friends who are teachers, but that's a very small percentage of the population of males that want to be teachers. That's why there's no teachers. Nobody's stopping men from being teachers. They want to be teachers. Did y'all want to be teachers growing up?
No,
Neither did
actually. I did. I initially started out school as an English major because I wanted to teach at the university level, and then I found out how much money they made, and
exactly. I was like, for that,
I did. I actually I was a substitute for a little while, so yeah, I tried it out. But what?
Yeah. I want to be an NBA, man. I want to touch them. I want to touch an L.
Okay, well, did you ask?
I enjoy teaching.
Did you ask what we wanted to be in high school, or you said after high school? I didn't hear the question.
I'm saying this in general.
In general, yeah. I was older by then. high school
my
I ain't
point in
gonna
general is
teach
just right
now.
there. He's making it seem like there's some kind of sinister plot against our kids because we don't see enough male teachers. We don't see enough ladies. There's all white women teaching. That's who's applying for the jobs. That's one of the easiest degrees to get. So it's like it's not like
canceled immediately.
Yeah, I mean the reality is this. I've managed and owned businesses and done stuff like that. What I'm trying to tell you is this right here is that a guy can be an HVAC tech, a guy could be a plumber, a guy can be a welder and make more money than a teacher's gonna make. Now,
with less education.
With less education, they don't get summers off, but they don't all the time work as much as a teacher works during the school year. You know what I'm saying? And they don't get a pension either. So there's trade-offs. I'm not saying a teacher's not a respectable occupation to have, and there's not some perks to being a teacher. My dad was a teacher, retired military, retired teacher. So yeah. I'm not saying that, but my point is saying this is that there's no government conspiracy. There's no conspiracy against blacks or anything like that about not enough male. Would I like to see male teachers? Yes. That I enjoy when I had male teachers in school. I did enjoy that. But
the reality of it is,
I wouldn't advise any male to be a teacher.
And here's the crazy thing: neither would Dame.
Exactly.
You go to school, so they teach you to sit behind a desk for $60K a year. That's dream is too small. All right, what you want us to do, man? You want us to dream like you and all be entrepreneurs, or like I don't understand what we doing here.
100% right. The reality is this right here is that when he's saying these things, where are these people going to come from to take those positions? We got to pull out of the people that are available. The human resource, a very valuable resource. We only can pick out of what's available to us. Or we got B Pitts on watching right now.
Yeah,
a teacher for over 10 plus years. So my point is saying again, there's not enough male teachers, all that kind of stuff. Dame is making some kind of sinister plot.
Right.
We can all become teachers. We want to become teachers. The reality is this: you only can pick out of people who actually apply for those certifications and want to get those occupations. So again, he's making this tactic, y'all, is he's making these people that we can't identify the villains, because how does that make him look for identifying them and bringing this to our attention? He looks like a hero. But y'all, this is not hero talk. This is sophistry. This is somebody trying to beguile you with their words to make it look like they're in this fight on your behalf, completely disconnected from the reality of how our world actually operates. That's my last point on it.
Which tenet of his philosophy are we supposed to be following, right? Either we're all trained to work 9 to 5.
I agree. This is not perfect. I mean, the things he's pointing out that are issues,
right.
I agree that there are issues.
That's what I'm saying. There are not enough male teachers. I think male teachers would be a huge boon, especially in the African American community. But like you said earlier, Vulcan, it's not because the government is like, how do we keep black males away from becoming teachers? Black males don't want to become teachers. Males don't want to become teachers. There's so much more money out there. And by Dame's philosophy, we should be getting the money.
Mm-hmm.
Based on how the women in this country operate, we need the money.
I know women who don't date men because they're teachers. Exactly. Because everybody knows what teachers make.
Yep.
And she's like, he was cool, but he couldn't afford me.
Yeah, it's admirable, but he can't provide the type of lifestyle that I want.
Yeah.
But he can teach your children now.
Yeah, he could teach your and he should though.
Comments, questions, thoughts, suggestions.
Hey, real talk though, if you talk about a government conspiracy, more seems like it's a societal, cultural conspiracy. We need black men to teach our children, but I wouldn't date that black man.
Yeah, Dame, why not with your artists? You didn't have them promote teaching, black men teaching in your music.
Do we need to do a throwback?
Talk your talk, sir.
When we need to
Bill
do a
O'Reilly
throwback,
and the
yeah.
principal.
When the principal,
Yeah.
matter of fact, we might need to just do that next Tuesday. We might have to do that. We might have to do a new day
Here we go.
back to back. We definitely got to do that.
Afford to get a toothbrush. They don't get none of that money. So it's a private sector jail. People are getting paid to destroy our children like a commodity, so they become adults that go to an adult prison, and that's the cycle. And that's what has to change. And
People
we can't wait for somebody to change it. We got to change it ourselves. Because why would they change it? It's working for them. We have become
exactly
a commodity so that people could stem on us over a jail bed. The more we go to jail, the richer somebody individually gets. If you own a hotel, your job is to have people return. A jail ain't nothing but a hotel with bars on it that's funded by or paid for by the government. So your intention is to have them come back. While you're in jail, you're not allowed to make no money. How could you take somebody off the street for 10 years, they can't make no money, you don't educate them on how things are currently going and put them back on the street, knowing without an education, you're going back. 80% of people that leave the jail, that don't have a place to go, they come back. So these things are things we all know. We know how to fix them, but we don't. So that seems intentional. So I'm not going to let the person who's hired to...
A performance that truly matters.
They got to pay for this. They got to pay for this.
I'm not going to depend on him to change things. I'm going to torture him and I'm going to change things. And I'm going to leverage my celebrity so that I can bring awareness to the things that matter and the people that are fighting. So the OSG, those are the principals. Those should be the celebrities. The principal that's in that jail every day, because I walk in there and I'm in there for an hour. I walk out sad. Girls be with me crying and we need therapy. They doing that every day. You know, we've been working with now the mayor of Gary. He was a senator before. What I learned from him is, you could really pass a law. If you write it up right, lobby for it, you could make a change. So I watched him make changes based on conversations we have. He'll write the shit up, go lobby for it, and come back and diabetes medicine is cheaper. And then, if something works in the state, it goes federal. What I'm talking about is answers.
Because again, audience is my issue is not against Dame. I'm actually a fan of Dame in a lot of ways, and I do encourage entrepreneurship for many people. I want to say this right here. I do agree with them. About you can do filibusters, you can do lobbyists, there's ways to empower yourself that change your community and get the results you want to see.
Absolutely.
But this is my issue right here. If you make a boogeyman that we can't identify in the bushes that will jump out and get you, that doesn't empower us to want to make change. That makes us feel like where we don't have any power and it's hopeless. So why do anything at all?
Exactly.
So I want Dame to understand. I want the audience to understand that when people are making the system itself, which is a composite of different individuals with different interests and stuff like that, the moms, the PTA meetings, and the superintendent, and all these different people that comprise our education system. Just as an example, they all have different interests. It's not it's people from your community who don't have ill will. It's you, it's me, it's us. Those of us have kids in school. So when he's saying disparaging comments and making it seem like somebody's out to get somebody and it's some kind of government conspiracy, whatever it is, that doesn't help our community. That hurts our community because it makes us feel less empowered.
Yeah, it cripples us from an effort standpoint. Obviously, if it's an insurmountable task, why would I mount it? Why would I start trying it off?
Absolutely right.
Yeah, we can't beat the man because the system is set up for that and there's nothing we can do about it. Why would I try at all? And we see that actively happening in our community now.
So why I'm saying that is say this. He should take all the negative stigmas, the negative comments he made about this nebulous, horrible villain that we don't know, we can't identify, that's not putting males in the schools, and we got people that are teaching our children that don't have their best interests at heart, and put that on us as individuals and say we don't do enough to be a part of the education system.
100%.
We're the villains. The villains. Point the finger at us, Dame. Point the finger at us. Me. Point the finger at me, Dame. Don't point it at some villain that we can never identify. Exactly. That doesn't empower me. Empower me by saying, hey, James, you could do a better job by being involved in your children's education. You could do a better job in your community's education.
Yeah.
I may not want to hear it, but that's way more empowering to tell me that, hey, like there's a government, some kind of conspiracy that they don't want black males in schools. Who doesn't
So
want?
be in school.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then encourage the baddies to date these dudes so they can
Yeah.
get some play. And here's the thing. I say it jokingly, but really, like these are real live cultural phenomena that we see on a day-to-day basis. So you can't just demonize or villainize the fact that it's not happening and attribute it to like you said, like the man. It's not the man's fault. And even if it is partially, right? Let's just say it is. Let's just say that the invisible entity exists, which I think on some
Yeah.
level it does, right? There are things in
Yeah.
place. Are we indemnifying ourselves as a community, individuals, from any accountability at all, or do we get to share it, right? And if that's the case, if it's true that we share responsibility and accountability, then let's fix what we can fix, right? If the man
Yeah.
is an insurmountable villain that we can't topple, all right, well, let's just fix what we can fix to see where we end up at, as opposed to spending our time on interviews all day talking about the man and why the
Yeah.
system is in place. Let's topple the system. You just said we can't. What do you want from us?
Yeah, I want the audience to think about times when you try to create things and try to facilitate and foster certain environments to get things accomplished, whether it's business or socials, situations, and then you have somebody who is just nitpicking all the problems in what you're doing
Ooh,
to other people at that.
right.
Are they the hero for pointing out your flaws, and you're the villain for all the implications of your short-sightedness or the things that you couldn't see? No. You would hate that situation and be like, hey, look, I did the best I could do with the resources I had available to myself. Instead of you nitpicking the things I did wrong and sharing it with the audience, why not come be a part of the solution and take more of an initiative and empowering me and being a part of what's actually going on?
That's something that Umar is doing. At the very least, he's trying to fix the problems that he's calling out. He's identifying. If I'm not mistaken, Dame probably had more money than Umar ever had personally.
Yeah.
And he spent all that money doing what he wanted to do for his loved ones. And again, I'm not knocking him. Do your thing, right? That's your money. You worked hard to earn it. But you can't simultaneously come out and say, man, here go these problems with the community, man. Why we ain't fixing it? Who is we?
We get some bad.
Say yeah.
We get some bad news in that letter.
Again, so just to touch on what the fellas were saying earlier, especially the buzzword empowerment, self-empowerment. Let's just break down what empowerment means. It's a degree of autonomy and self-determination. This is what this platform is about. We want to equip y'all with essential critical thinking tools that will empower your thinking. And I really, how can I say, from previous research, the better you're at with analyzing your thoughts, the better that will enhance your decision making. So keep that in mind, y'all. All right, let's get back into it.
We know the problems, but in order to actually fix things, you got to get in there and do it yourself. I don't like education. So what we do, my girl writes a book, Dusko Goes to Space. We personally go into the schools and teach the kids how to dream. I don't like the books the kids they got for my kid. We make our own. I don't like the TV that people watch, so I made my own. America New. Now, I'm going to talk about that. Because I'm assuming this is getting monetized on like YouTube and all that. Do you know how much you make from YouTube?
Let's get it.
What the split is?
I know exactly what the split is.
What?
Well, I mean, that's my business.
No. Meaning not your business. Meaning you don't know how much YouTube gets for an ad.
Well, let me just tell you. No.
It's $6 billion. Last quarter, YouTube made $6 billion off of content creators. They only paid out $100 million. So that means if they're getting $6,000 worth of ads, they only giving you $100.
Right.
So they never give you an accounting on how much they get on the ad. So the reason why I never looked at YouTube, because I'm like, yo, I'm talking about being smart, but you jerking me. And plus, I don't trust Lior. Period. Anything he doing, I don't trust. I know what he did with music.
Let me interject real quickly about it, because I definitely had to ask you about Lior. What in the hell did Lior do?
Let's pause it right there.
Because
oh yeah. Go ahead.
Anybody got something on what he said so far?
I want to take this time to show that while I have a problem with his delivery and how he says things, I still support. Like I said, Dame is listen. I'm a Rockefeller fan, man. Dame is an integral part of that. I can't wipe him out. But I watched this interview and downloaded that app, and I'm gonna watch this stuff. I'm gonna patronize. I'm gonna patronize this app. This is on my phone. This is my personal phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I know there's gonna be a lot of people. I'm pretty sure they do it at all times, anyways. But there's gonna be a lot of people like, man, y'all just hating on Dame. I want you to understand this is not hate, right? This is enrichment for the community. We just asking you to look at what he's saying for what he's saying, and not because who he is and he's saying it, right?
Facts.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna say this. I want to let the people know and the audience to keep in mind, y'all. Listen, YouTube is an independent company. A lot of times it seems like people look at YouTube like they're a government entity, and it's not. They're a business. So the way they want to divide the money, how they want to pay people, that's their business model. This is separate from the government. People keep bringing this up, freedom of speech, and they censoring a lot of people. That's their business. That's their platform. That's their business model.
Get 'em.
They can do what they want to do. Whether it's the NBA, shout out to Kyrie. Whether it's the NBA, whether it's YouTube, these businesses can tell you what you can say and what you can't do, and they have a right. We're underneath this capitalism umbrella. They have a right to charge you and pay you what they want to pay.
Exactly.
But Volker, you got something?
Yeah, I was gonna just give two examples. One anecdotal, and the other one just an example that we all can relate to. The Dame references the streets and the past he has and how the street codes work. If you have a connect with, you connect. You're not telling the people on the streets how much they charging you for the work you're getting. That's
Right.
your relationship with them based off how much volume you're doing, the relationship that you have, and what you negotiated. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need everybody knowing that. That's a common business practice. Nobody does that. You know what I'm saying? Your negotiation is based off what the successes that you've had and your ability to negotiate.
Yeah.
So when he said YouTube doesn't tell you about how much, they don't owe that to you. That's an entitlement we don't have. Anybody who's owned a business or even not even owned a business, anybody who's done anything with somebody that they've had to make some kind of connection to be able to disseminate something based off a connection that they had. The person not entitled to know.
So
they're not entitled to that information. So when he's doing that right there, so just on that street level, if I got to connect where I'm getting my supply and I'm having people sell that stuff and I'm charging a certain amount for it or whatever, Blue Magic, that's a brand name.
Yeah.
So my point is, like, they don't owe you that. You don't got to discuss how much you're getting from Vietnam or whatever it is, right? You don't see that in none of the movies. You don't see that in none of the street guys who talk about it.
They tell you in the regular workplace to not discuss your salaries. That's nobody else's business. What you get what you negotiate.
You get what you negotiated. And then so I'm gonna give a personal example. I remember one of the guys that would work with me for a little while. And he would ask me, and I think Darius talked about this before, but he would ask me like, how much you can for this. Yes. I didn't say it was you, but the thing is that so he would say, how much you spend on this right here? What's your he wanted to know my overhead, all that kind of stuff, right? It's a guy who worked with me. We were close, we hung out and stuff like that, but he wasn't entitled to that information. And I was telling him, I said, look, you don't ask McDonald's that. You don't ask the other companies that. You're asking me because we're close. And then a year ago, of course, he had his business then, and he has his business now, and is thriving and doing really well. And he's had guys who got close with that, work with him and stuff like that. And guess what they wanted to know? The same information. He realized, I can't be telling them that information. Y'all, we just watched not too long ago a study that was done. We got to understand how the human psychology works, right? There was a study that was done where they asked people, you can make $100,000, right? At a company, but everybody you work with makes $200,000. So that's one scenario. That's one option, right? Or you can work with some people that you make $50,000, and everybody else makes $50,000. I don't remember exactly how the scenario.
No,
went.
it was you could make 50,000, but everybody else would make like 25,000.
Oh yeah, okay, 25,000.
So people would make less money to their detriment as long as other people were making less money than them. That's
absolutely right.
Crazy, but it
And
tracks. 50% of Americans are haters.
That's exactly right. Human psychology is. We saw the other study where they did a study on 450 women and found out that women will recommend women cut their hair if they're attractive, so there's less competition. So if a woman who works in a salon, she'll recommend a lady cut her hair to make her less attractive. On the business side and in the ladies, how they do it, there's a bunch of hate, psychology, competition. I don't want you to do better than me. So why would you go and tell somebody what your connect is? Well, you know that not everybody, but a large percentage of the population is a hater.
Now, real quick, based on what you're saying, Vulcan, a lot of this stuff is based off of jealousy and hate. So what Dame is saying is why he won't deal with certain entities because they operate like that. I understand his point of view. I understand his perspective. And on some level, I agree with it. But it's not a conspiracy. This is common practice amongst businesses. This is not a way to oppress or keep down a certain group of people, right? He's speaking from his very small, right? As big as it is, it's still small in the grand scheme of things, perspective and amount of experience that he has within the music industry. But this is common business practice the world round, globally.
Even outside of business, I mean, there's been situations, and I'm gonna make up a makeshift example that's not the greatest, but you could have a situation where you may have. So for instance, you may have a homegirl you talk to that she works at Burger King. Take it back to high school or somebody. She works at Burger King, right? She gives you free food. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But now the homies is with you now, right?
Right.
And so she gives them 50% off. So the homies can be like, I come to Burger King and I pay full price, and now because of my connect through Freshly or Enos or Vulcan, I get it 50% off. That's a come up. You can get twice as much food now, right? But there's always a homie that's like, well, what's she charging
what you paying? Don't worry about it.
It's like, don't worry about all that.
Why you in my business? Did I not hook you up? Did I not give you 50% off? You could have been paying 100%. Why are you worried about my 0%?
Last thing I want to say about this point right here. There's a scripture in the Bible actually that talks about a similar point. I want the audience to get a very robust, full, dynamic picture of the different examples of what I'm saying. People hating and their version of what's fair is not always what's actually fair. There's a scripture in the Bible where there was a man who was had work to be done in the field. So he would go out every hour and hire people like, hey, look, I'll give you this set amount right here to do to work all day in my field, right? So somebody be like, hey, I'll take that money. They go work in the field for, let's just say, a quarter. I'm making that amount of money up as a quarter. They're gonna work all day in that field for a quarter. They think it's a good rate. He didn't make them do it. He said, hey, look, I'll give you a quarter to work all day in this field. They can do it. He go out the next hour. Hey, I got a quarter for anybody who wants to work in this field. People sign up. The next hour, all the way up until the last hour of work, right? The last hour of work. He goes, hey, I got a quarter. Anybody wants to do a full day's work, right? People sign up and they went to go do the work. After it was all done, people getting in line to get their payment, right, for the work that they've done.
Right.
People from all different hours showed up in that line. People that worked the whole day. Quarter. People that worked that last hour.
Yep.
They all got that same quarter.
Yep.
And people complain like, hold on. I was out here all day. He was out here for an hour. Why am I getting the same pay he got? And the scripts reports like this. Am I not giving you the money you and I agreed you were going to get for your labor?
Yeah, I didn't make you do it.
Yeah, I didn't make you. I'm paying you what I said I was going to pay you that you accepted. What I got going on with everybody else got nothing to do with you.
Yep.
That's the issue with what Dame is saying, audience.
I'm going to burn it down to basic.
I know, audience, it sounds maybe intuitive that you should expect to get more, or you should the information based off this, that, and the other. They don't owe you that. Don't be entitled. They don't owe you that information. People skim
Entitlement.
X and they do think that's an entitlement thing. And what Dame is endorsing is an entitlement mentality. One that he doesn't even really believe in. When you listen to him speaking about things, he don't believe people working hard for what they get. You don't believe in entitlements. This is an inconsistency and a double standard on his part.
Entitlement philosophy doesn't leave a lot of room for self accountability, which we've already discussed. Gives you a crutch.
Audience,
right?
leave comments. Comments, leave questions, anything you got. We're getting into it.
Yeah.
Fair use.
I've heard you a few times talk about Leor. I don't know the man from a whole.
It's not what he did to me. It's what he did to our culture and what I watched him do to other people.
What specifically? What's the gripe?
He's not from our culture, and he pushes people and monetizes the dysfunction of our culture. And he doesn't teach us how to actually make a certain kind of money and keep it in ownership. He teaches us to work for him. He robs us. I've watched him do it. So when we first started to work with Leo, and he broke up Rockefeller, to me, it was definitely, I'm not going to say that it's another man.
I'll make this short. We'll never get through it, y'all. So I'll make this short. But again, this entitlement thing comes in.
That's white supremacy.
White supremacy, yeah. Does Leor owe anybody that information?
No.
Hey, look, I'm not talking audience. I'm not saying how I feel personally about it. Do I feel like people should go above and beyond to teach and empower people that work with them and for them and blah, 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 blah? That might be my personal belief. But that's a completely separate thing than what we're owed. So that's one point. Point number two.
Logic and reason.
Dane mentioned what he did to the culture and what he did to the people. Y'all, a culture is not a person. Nobody owes a culture anything. You can do whatever you want to a culture. Again, culture is your cuisine, your religion, your practice, your artifacts. Go think about when you were in school, talking about what a culture is. If an anthropologist is digging, an archaeologist is digging, and look at the culture of ancient peoples, we're not looking at that culture as sanctified and something that needs to be upheld by all for eternity. It was just how they lived. That's what their religion was. Is how they lived.
Yep.
And it was cool until it wasn't. Right. Same thing goes with our culture. Don't have that bias that because it's what culture that I happen to hold to, hip hop culture as a subculture or American culture, because I happen to hold to this, that this culture right here is beyond reproach. This culture cannot be changed or critiqued by anybody. It's a culture that 1,000 years from now, you may look back and go, it was cool while it lasted.
Yep.
Now
it's only 50 years old.
We should treat people right. So when he mentions the culture, I don't get his argument on that. You may have a certain preference of a culture, but that's your preference. It's nothing to do with reality. Now, the people mistreat people. Now, he and I can stand side by side and go, you should not mistreat people.
But that's a subjective measurement.
But that's different than the culture.
Well.
Yeah. I can watch Carlton and Fresh Prince when he plays something Manilow, whatever that guy was.
Barry Manilow. Don't do that, man. Don't do that. It's not unusual.
Yeah, cut this. It's not unusual. I do like that song, mind you, especially Mars Attacks. It was played in Mars Attacks a lot, right? Not unusual. And I happen to like that song, but if I was making fun of one of my black friends for playing, I'd be like, man, cut this off, man. So I'll diss the culture. I'm not going to diss my friend. You see what I'm saying? I'm separating the person from some of the attributes of the culture. And Dame is making this culture something so sacred, it cannot be touched, it can't be addressed, it can't be made fun of, it can't be anything. But it's just a culture. It's just what people. It's a pattern of behaviors. That's all it is.
Here's the thing. Consider other cultures. I'm gonna use a popular one. Consider the NBA, how it started out, who it was started for, what those people that were quote unquote pioneers of the game, what they look like, right? Basketball was created by James Naismith on a peach basket for clean cut white boys. Okay. Do we look at Allen Iverson and how he shifted the culture? Do we look at him as a culture vulture, right? Is he demeaning the culture, right? Are we looking at, listen, what they started out making in basketball was in no way what they make now, right? We don't tell LeBron when he hits up the Lakers over the head for however many millions, right? We don't talk crazy to what's the boy's name from the Celtics who got the biggest contract in NBA history? We don't look at him as a culture vulture because he's getting rich off of a culture that wasn't created for him. We applaud him, right? We revere him. What Dame is doing is an appeal to emotion. You can also look at it as an appeal to familiarity, right? We like this, so this is what's right. But it has nothing to do with logic and reason, right? This is like
Enos, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're fine.
okay. Can you hear me now?
Okay, there you go. He's back on now.
Okay, my apologies. My headphones died. It's
So
just
sorry to hear that. Were y'all close?
that's corny. Nah, nah, not with the dad jokes, G. We're just saying when you put how Dame views our culture, right? It's his culture, it's our culture. We hold a certain reverence for it. But again, the point is that has nothing to do with actual logic and reason. So you can't take what he's talking about to heart and use it as fact, because in fact it doesn't work like that across the board. That's not that's not the way everything works. And to be honest with you, it's not even how things work for us as a culture. Some of the music that we took, just because it was made by people who look like us, right? They didn't design it to be used the way we use it, right? And even when we first started as a culture 50 years ago, the people who we got the music from were what we would consider hating, because we were utilizing their intellectual property in a way that they did not see fit. We called them haters. We called what we were doing progress. We told them to get out of our way. So we just want to frame this conversation that Dame is having in the right light, in the right parameters, so you can understand why there would be a reason to question what he's saying, whether you agree with it or not. Just look at what he's saying and how he's saying it, and ask yourself, why are you presenting this like this, right?
And just got made to do something, but he was the one that would always give someone that option.
Was Russell there at the time?
No, well, Russell, that's another thing. I didn't like the way he treated Russell. I thought he robbed Russell. They
weren't equal?
Well, what happened was, after they sold the company that Russell brought, they hired Lior. So then Lior didn't own Def Jam, but he still ran it. He worked for Universal. So I would watch Russell come in with a project, and it would be like Lior would have him waiting in the lobby and shit like that.
Lior made Russell Simmons wait in the lobby?
Not like that, but meaning they wouldn't just give him a deal. They weren't fairly treated. And that's Russell's business, so I don't want to get into that. But I could just tell you, I'd be sitting in the club with Russell and Lior, and I'd be like, yo, why you mess with him, man? He's just so disrespectful to you. Like, why you even, and I'd be in this, and he'd be like, chill, I don't deal with things that way. I'm going to deal with it for you. Like I said, I used to take it personal. I was you remember when his appendix exploded? Mm-hmm. I was at the hospital. I didn't know his mother was in there. And she said some real foul. I mean, it was so racist, I couldn't believe it. Like, yo, you better get your mother. Like one of those. Because she didn't really understand I was in the room. So she said, I forgot. It was some nigga shit, put it like that. It was something that I was like, she was like, yeah, she just old or whatever. I was like, yo, you wild. Like, I couldn't believe
what she said. What you think she said? What you remember?
It was something it was years ago.
Whatever piece you remember.
I saw you when you hear nigga, it's a feeling. It's not. I hear other people say nigga all day. It bothers me. I know when it bothers me. It bothered me.
Did you hear the word?
I told you. I don't remember. It felt like it. It was like 10, 15 years ago, but we had to have an argument over. So I was like, it felt like something.
I applaud Willie D.
There was so many things. When I first got with Lior, the first thing he did.
I was just saying, I applaud Willie D for trying to pin him down with some facts and some actual substantial evidence. I mean, you know me, boy. I need facts. I need metrics. Give me the facts. What's your source? Because right now he's just talking. He's saying things that gonna make the community mad. Oh my gosh, Leah's mom is racist. She said racist stuff. Well, what'd she say? I don't know. Something that made me feel a certain way. What? Come on, man. And my only thing is, like, if all this stuff is true, just do better. You presented this to people who have the ability to utilize logic and utilize reason, and you're not you're taking advantage of the fact that we generally don't, which is the point of this platform. Is we want to teach everyone, listen, right or wrong, whether you believe him or not, whether you agree with him, you rock with Dame, I rock with
a lot of stuff he's saying. But the point is, I don't rock with everything he's saying because I can look at it and run what he's saying through a filter of what makes sense and what doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Something he says makes sense. I rock with that. Kudos to you, Dame. Everybody that you hear speak, including us, it's not an all or nothing type of thing, right? Everything that we say on this platform is not going to be 100% correct, and we encourage you to call us out, or at least when you're looking at it, when you're listening to us, you should be thinking like, I don't know if that makes sense, right? That's the point of it.
Yeah,
I don't know if that makes sense. Let me do my own. Let me go think about what he says, how he presented that argument. I don't like the way he made the argument, so I agree with what he said, maybe even the general sentiment. But point B through Z, I don't agree with that. I agree with point A. That's the point.
Man. No. Don't do that. Don't do that. I need facts, Frederick.
I need facts.
I need numbers. I need metrics.
It was trying to make me have a beef with another black person on his behalf. And I was like, he said, you with me, right? If you with me, then you got to go to war with me. I said, bro, I got a lot of beef on the street. You going to go to war with me? Let's not do that. Then I asked him, how much is rich? What's a wealthy guy? You know, he told me 600,000 after taxes. I never liked the way he would have, and again, I don't like to go off on another man. He ain't here. So, bottom line is, I don't like the way he would treat my culture still. I don't like the way he talked to the culture. There would be times that he would be saying things and like I'd be with like Beanie Siegel or something, and he'd say something that was so offensive, unknowing, unconsciously, just demeaning. And Beanie would be ready to knock him out. And I'd have to bark on him so Beanie didn't do nothing to him. You understand? I'd be like, I got it, don't worry. Like, he was just an offensive person. What he couldn't understand about me is that I could have white people working for me. Because he thinks black people can only have black people working for him. So when I would walk in and have anybody white in my staff, he'd go to the side and go, are you okay? Let me know if they're treating you wrong.
Blink twice.
I swear to God, he did that shit. Yeah, the blink twice, the napkin. He used to do it to every one of my assistants or anyone from that culture. No disrespect, but this is what he used to do. So I could go on and on and on and on and on. And
it's
also,
I
just think that every Batman needs a Joker, and he's that clown. So that's it. And I think
crazy.
Real good point, Freshly. That's a real good point.
Everybody's scared of him. I'm not, because of the color of his skin. And it's like he's the poster boy for why you're scared of him. You know what I mean? He's that guy to me. I just don't like how he exploits our culture. And then when he got on the radio and tried to say, who's Damon? And he actually got on the radio and said, yo, I know what they're doing, but I got to eat. How could you like a man that would do that?
I saw that interview on
So then
Breakfast Club.
why you don't have a problem with him? That would be my question. How could you not have a problem with that man? He's not from our culture. He eats off us all day and he makes money off our dysfunction. Why? And then trust him with YouTube? That's how they're killing us. So people aren't even conscious of how they pay out at YouTube or Tubi or any of those things. So what I did was, because I was like, I'm not a herd, especially if he's over there, it's not right. So I use YouTube for marketing, but I went and built my own network. And let's say YouTube gets the ads from Pablo. I went around YouTube and I get the ads from Pablo. So instead of them getting that 6 billion, I get that 6 billion. If I want to split it with creative, then they'll get 3 billion, I'll get 3 million. But it ain't gonna never be 100 million to 6 billion. But I understand it because no one's asking. Does it make sense to get a million views and only make $7,000? That don't make no sense. So that means that the way that I'm seeing things, if any dollar anyone makes at YouTube, if you were really getting paid what you're supposed to, you would be making 100 times more, 100x, not 10x, 100x. So that's why I launched American New. And that's a real network, broadcast live. It looks like I'm doing a lot of stuff here, but you can get on it right.
Pause. Like, again, he snuck it in there. If you were getting paid what you're supposed to. Again, Dame, that's underhanded. He's making some great points. People should fight to get more money. I'm all for that. I'm all for the underdogs fighting to get more money, whether it's the WNBA, whether it's the NBA, whether it's the YouTubers, any situation, whether it's employees. There's assertiveness training that people take women through so they can know how to negotiate their salaries better for lawyers and stuff like that. I'm all for it. Negotiate your salaries. These companies are pulling in millions and billions of dollars depending upon what industry you're in. They can afford to do that to some extent, right? But we got to remember, they're in the business of saving money and making money. We're in the business of taking money. It's going to be a negotiation. With my business, I want to pay people a fair wage, and that's it. No more. Because people got to understand this. It's not just about, this is what happens. So an individual who works for YouTube or works with YouTube as a partner, or whatever it is, or you work for a company, you're thinking about you and that company, and it stops right there. Your company is thinking, the more I spend on employees, the less money I have to compete against my competitors. If they lose to their competitors, you might lose your job. They have to downsize. They have to let people go. So a lot of times our scope is so limited because we're thinking about it just from what we have or we don't get. I'll make my last little 10-second point right here so you can speak to this freshly, is that you got to understand our business are looking at it from how do I remain competitive in the marketplace. Exactly. I've got to have enough money to buy more resources, get stock at a cheaper rate, and be able to buy more things so that I can corner the market myself against my competitor, so I can employ more people, get people that I already have employed.
So in the industry that I work in, there's oftentimes one associates or employees, boots on the ground guys, right? These are the lifeblood folks, but like Vulcan was saying, they have very limited perspectives, right? They're not even privy to the inner workings of how the business runs. They only have their limited perspective. So when you're talking about how much you're getting paid to do what you're doing, right, you have to consider what the market value is of your job, what other companies are paying, right? And here's the thing: these are actual things. These are measurables that you can set a business against. Find me a business that runs on pure morality that is successful, and then show me 100 more. All right.
Chick-fil-A.
But you also have to, when you're a boots on the ground guy, right? You don't know how much it costs to provide insurance to each employee, right? You don't know based on the regulatory entities, right? You don't know how much money you're costing them in fines when you break certain rules, right? Whether you know it or not. Yeah. You don't know how much it costs to keep you safe, right? So there's things like, if we're talking about the industrial warehousing, right? I got to pay for safety equipment, right? Because I can't have you in this building unsafe. I got to pay for guarding, right? There's a whole bunch of fees and expenditures that you as a tier 1 associate are not privy to. You don't know. And to be honest with you, you're not supposed to know, and it's not your concern, because your concern is, I'm showing up here to do the job that I'm being paid for what I'm being paid, because this money is going back to take care of my family. So, here's the crazy thing about it. If you go back and look at probably 75% of Dame Dash's interviews, he talks about pocket counting, pocket watching. Why are you worried about what I'm making? It's so weird that all of a sudden.
Good point.
That's
the double standard of hypocrisy. Excellent point.
It's not a manly thing to do, right? If you a man, why are you worried about another man's pockets? Why are you worried about what another man makes?
Why you worried about YouTube's pockets?
Yeah, why you towards pockets? Like, again, that's a logical fallacy what we use. But my point is, ask these questions. That's the thing. When you're listening to this man, he's saying things that sound good. Ask the question though. Why, if you believe in these things so strongly, like, what does that say about your previous philosophies? Is that still who you are? Right? Seems like it. It seems like you still hold a lot of those values and beliefs important. So
if you can so easily cast your previous views aside without recanting them,
did you ever?
What does it say about your character?
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely. I know we don't want to do a lot of fallacies on the shows, but taxi cab fallacy, just in case people was wondering, that's what Dame is practicing.
Say it one more time.
Taxi cab fallacy.
There you go, my man. Hey.
Yeah.
Today, what you have for breakfast this morning? Do that again.
y'all silly, man. Let's go ahead. Let's get back into it, man. Or I could play the for our intro. Oh no, let's get back into it. My bad. It's sidetracked.
Now, And the ads are Nike and all that. So no one teaches us about the ads. They're just teaching us about how it feels to understand when people are viewing you and it feels good. And that takes the place of the money that you're supposed to be making, the fame it gives you. And no one's asking about why they're not getting no money. Those are the questions I ask. This doesn't, the breakdown doesn't make sense. Then I got to do an investigation, but I'm never going to be that Johnny. Like, you're never going to be making me do all this work and you're getting the lion's share. It's not, it just doesn't make sense. It's the same exact thing that happened in the music business. If there was robbery in the music business, anytime there's a new business, there's robbery. So you have to look for it. You could never think that on the internet and all this new money and BPMs and all of that we're not getting completely robbed. No one's even asking. No one challenges the bust down or the split. No one says, let me see how much money you made off that Nike ad. They just want to know how much they're getting. I don't know how much you're getting, so I'm not going to do that. I got to know how much. And when I work with my creatives, there's a dashboard. We made this much off a Nike ad. You get 60%, I get 40%. Let's go eat. But I'm not going to sit there now because my culture is creatives now. So now I'm going to go put him out of business in YouTube too. Because he can't make no more music because it's only, to me, his only business model was robbing niggas. And nigga meaning people that aren't smart, not black people, people that are in a tight situation that will do anything to get out of it. And by the
Hey, real quick, Dame is the 50% of Americans that'll take less money as long as somebody else is not getting as much, is getting less money. I'm telling you, this is his business model. He says this on multiple things, right? I'd rather have a small house that's my house, right, than have a big house and have to listen. Whether you agree with him or not, he's that 50% of Americans who gonna take less, so people around him can't have more than him.
I want to say this for the audience. Like, notice what happened earlier, and I want to apologize to the panel and to the audience. I didn't even point this out, but notice how when he first brought the YouTube split on the funds from the advertisement, what did Willie D say? That's
my business.
Did we catch that? Did we catch that?
Yeah, we did, because that's his business. He's not gonna tell you how much he's making.
I'm not telling you that. Now, how can Willie D say that? Because what Willie D is saying, my own core principle is my money that I get from doing what I do is my business.
Right.
Can he then go back and say, hey, YouTube, how much you make for the stuff you be doing? That's
YouTube gonna be
there.
Like, hey, that's my business, bro.
That's my business.
Hey, go.
Am I not paying you the money that I'm supposed to be paying you?
Right.
So even Willie D is showing he doesn't even agree philosophically what Dame Dash is saying. Audience, why am I saying this? Am I saying it because Willie D doesn't agree it makes Dame wrong? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, you got diversity of views right here with two esteemed legends in their own right, roughly around the same age, with both guys who are thinking men, and they both have different opinions as businessmen. Now, the interview doesn't explore it because this is about Dame, and Willie D's really good at making sure when he's interviewing somebody, he makes it about the individual who's there that's gracing him with their time. But just keep in mind, there was two opinions there. And Dame wasn't, I don't think Dame was actually asking to split. He was making a general point, and Willie D maybe misinterpreted, but we still were able to glean what his philosophy about that was. Hey, how I make my money, what I got my deal is my business.
Yeah.
The same thing applies for YouTube. The same thing applies for you at your job.
Yep.
That's all I wanted to say on that point.
All I have to say about that.
Time they realize they've been robbed, they owe or they in jail.
Your company is American New, right? You said
that's my family's company. That's the network.
Company.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I work for my family.
When someone wants to go search your company, what search engine do they use
to go on American New?
What's typically like?
Well, right, it just launched, so you could go on Fire Stick. It should be on Apple. It'll be on Roku. But
to get to Roku.
This tiny device will let you track your equipment from your smartphone. A simple device like this.
Roku, Apple, you mean going straight through their apps?
Or through their distribution.
Yeah. But if somebody wanted to just look you up and say, let me look up American New, typically what search engine would they use?
Maybe Google.
Google, right? And Google owns YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So
I was on mute. Well, they setting them up. They ain't not seeing the bait, but he's still promoting.
Google, anytime Google, this sounds like you would be a direct competitor to YouTube, right?
To everybody.
To everybody, right?
But
so
YouTube, a Tubi,
but
one of those.
But if you're, let me put myself over here. If I'm YouTube, if I'm Google, and I own YouTube, and I see a competitor coming off from the side, I'm running, and I see this competitor coming up on the side of me, and I got the power to do that, trip you, and get away with it, I'm gonna do it. If I got an opportunity to hit you with a boat,
yeah, but I'm gonna punch you in the back of your head.
Do it.
You know, if somebody hits you in the back of the head for that, I'm not gonna just let that happen.
But check this out.
Okay. Like, boom.
And
you know what I'm saying?
And I respect that, but I want you to tell me, after I tell you this, I want you to tell me how you're gonna bow me in the back of the head when I tell you this. No. We're talking about
you in the back of the head.
We're talking about it. Yeah. But listen, this is what I'm saying. Okay, say I see the competitor coming up on the side of me.
How did Tubi do it?
And now I'm gonna say,
we're not. Okay, here's the difference.
I'm gonna say. Let me make a point first. But I'm gonna say, yo, let me hit these filters so that Dame's people can't reach him as much as they want to. Let me make sure that they have a problem getting over that, because Google controls the algorithm. They control the filters. They can. This is why it's been so. Trust me, I am not trying to discourage. I just believe that if we are to do our thing, I think that we need an entire new search engine, because if we're going to go up against Google, if we're going to go up against YouTube, we need a different search engine than Google, and it needs to be Black owned and controlled, because otherwise, if people have to go find us, just like almost every other,
here's the difference.
Every other company in this country,
guys
and
like
world,
you and I,
you got to search.
With guys like you and I, right? Google will be for people that don't know us, right? Because they'll know how to get to us because they know us. So I have a direct-to-consumer relationship to the people that I know. If, like, as far as the algorithm goes, for some reason I'm in that algorithm that I pop up. I don't pay for that or any of those things, and it's a fight for independence. It's inspiration, and it's self-awareness, and it's positive. Because we have the ability to do what we need to do with the ads, we could also control algorithms as well. So when I get into a game, I've already, like, again, you go on somebody's block, it's easy to call the police. You just got to deal with that type of shit. It's part of the game. So I know that there's always a competitor doing something, but my work to me is so good that I'm gonna get there and there's nothing they can do about it. I watch a Tubi, not a Tubi, there's no creatives over there. That's just an ad agency that put together and there's no genius there, and they went and got bought by Fox. Only thing that they would do is try to buy me. But the difference between me and YouTube is that I'm not just taking any work. Anyone could get on YouTube. This is more of a Netflix situation where I got to like it to put it on. I'm not just doing that with everybody. And again, most of the people, I'm only trying to talk to generals that have armies. So I'm talking to people that have their own relationship completely with, like, a Billy Carson, a 19 Keys, Earn Your Leisure, people that already have made a community. We just got to all stick together and we make our own algorithm that way. Yeah. So there's a lot of verticals that come with it. I mean, like, everyone is supposed to have a podcast and a streaming service. It's just a vertical of your.
See, I just want to point this out because I do appreciate that Dame is taking that approach of just working with people he really wants to work with on his platform. But look at this. We're gonna compare YouTube's platform criteria and then Dame's, and then we're gonna compare its opportunity value. So you got YouTube where they'll take anybody, but they're gonna keep most of the profits on the advertisement dollars, right? Then you got Dame who says, "Oh, I'm gonna split. I don't need to make as much money. I'm gonna do it in a way that's more favorable to the people, to the creatives. But I only want to work with generals."
That's exclusionary.
Gatekeeping.
So my whole thing is saying this right here is like, who's to say which model is actually better?
It's my business. I work with who I want to work with.
How do we judge that?
I mean, you got one who said we'll work with anybody, but our cuts already written in stone. The other person said, "Hey, I'm willing to do big business with you and split the money real nice with you, but you got to already basically be somebody already. You got to be a general already."
Right. Think about where hip hop would be if hip hop didn't utilize already established platforms for music, right?
Exactly.
Think how far we 50 years deep. We might be at like 20 years if we had to work on starting our own platform and our own framework and building our own structure.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Freshly. I want to say this real quick, and I'm saying it because it's going to take a little bit from what you're saying right now. Is that if you're listening to this, and you're thinking about who I rather work with, YouTube or Dame. Now, Dame is virtue signaling. He come across like he's for the people, all that kind of stuff. But he's telling you, if you ain't already a general, I don't want to work with you.
Yeah.
YouTube is saying, I work with any of y'all. Now, my point is right here. What percentage of the population is generals? What percentage of the military is generals?
Very small, very few.
Very small.
Very small
So
percentage.
a lot of times we don't crunch the numbers. We don't square the math, as I like to say, with the scenario. He's presenting his situation like, I'm for the people.
But no,
you're for the talented 10th. You're for the top people that are already generals, and yeah, you'll split a piece of the pie because they don't really need you. They're general. They're gonna get a good deal regardless.
Right.
So it behooves you to give them a good deal if you want them to work with you.
Right.
Again, I'm not knocking Dame for that business model. I think it's an excellent business model. I just want the audience to hear what he's proposing is not better for us individually. It's good for a small subset of the population.
I.e., to my point at the beginning, is he for the people, or is he for us, or is he just against them?
Or for the talented 10th, or is he just for the people that's already on that level?
Well, I'm just saying what his philosophy, what he's spewing right now, what he's talking about, is he for us the people, or is he just against them?
YouTube is saying, hey, look, we'll take all like your favorite the old school church, come as you are, we'll take you.
Hey, this is the same thing that Donald Trump does. Donald Trump is for the rich American. He's for the rich, but he rolled the poor white American all the way to the White House. He's not for them. Dave Chappelle talks about this. You look at him with all these poor white Americans, he's like, Trump represents me. I'm rich, nigga. Like, he's not you. He's utilizing you, the voice of the franchise. He's utilizing you to climb on your shoulders. He's not for you. And the thing is, he's literally telling you. He's telling you. I only work with certain types of people who have already arrived, who are already established. That's not the majority, right? But he's talking to you, the poor black person who's watching YouTube, to say, like, aren't you mad about this? Don't you want to support me against the white? That's why. Are you for us, or are you just against them? That's the question that I want you to ask. Is Dame for you, or is he just against them and he wants you to be on his team? He needs your support.
Really take that consideration. It doesn't make him a bad guy, but it helps you to understand how you need to move.
It makes him regular. He got his own agenda.
Things that you do. It's like one thing. Every company should have a podcast, should have a streaming service, should have a website, should have a YouTube channel. It all comes with the game. But I'm saying, regardless of what, if I get 1,000 people, it's more money made than 1 million people on YouTube because we get the full benefit of the ad. So I don't have to sell nickels. I'm going to sell weight.
Yeah, I absolutely get it.
But I want to get, I asked you, because I'd be like, yo, when the people that are on YouTube, they're talking about being smart. And I'd be like, but how much of your ad do you get? And nobody knows. So what's smart about that? Yeah. That's why I'm like, if I can't tell you how much is being made, I'm not doing it. I'm getting robbed.
In my defense,
not you.
I'm not
don't
smart.
Take it personal.
Hold on. I got to, because the people probably gonna get in the comments and be like, So I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. I ain't trying to be smart. I'm acting like I'm trying to get smart. I'm trying to be smart. I'm just trying to be smart. I ain't there all the way. I'm not there all the way. I'm trying to be smart. But you're absolutely right about that split. It's ridiculous. But at this, so it's either you deal with it, or you just quit. You leave it alone. And quitting is not an option, right? And that's the spirit that I love from Dame and Dash. I mean, dude, have you thought about going into Deion Sanders' locker room and talk to those players?
I don't think they need it. Deion doing a great job. You know
but he still brings people in to inspire, to motivate the
if
players.
you ask me, I would definitely come through. It's not a place to be right now.
I'm putting it out there right now, dude. Like, a person sit and listen to you for any amount of time, dude, man, you're going to feel like you can do something. I mean, you make a midget think he can dunk a basketball.
They can.
You know what I'm saying? If they
really want to,
they got
figure that out.
If they got a little help, you know what I'm saying? Got a little springboard or something like that. But, man, where did that spirit come from, though, bro? Like, was there a person in your life that you looked at and said, I want to be like that guy? I want to take some of those attributes that he have or she has and, mold this person that I want to become.
It's a collective of people. So it's like, I remember who I looked up to when I was in the street and why. It was a respect that came with honor that I really liked a lot. And I was kind of like, I'm born into a family that didn't take L's like that. So I've only seen W's from my family. I've never seen anyone in my family get bullied ever. I've only seen my family bullying, white or black. So I never saw abuse happening this way. I only saw it getting administered. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, anybody in my family generally has someone.
So yeah, he says, I never see my family getting bullied. I see my family doing the bullying.
So what's the difference? What
kind of legacy is that?
That's what he's doing right now. He's bullying you.
No, I said, what's the difference between Leor and his family? What's the difference?
Leor is white.
Yeah.
Leo's not of the culture. He been in as long as you, possibly longer.
I like my boots and I like my coffee.
No.
White supremacy.
Yeah, my man. Go ahead, y'all. Technical difficulties. That was Leora tapping in the line right now on our show. Y'all got anything before we go back in?
Yeah, we're gonna stop what we doing over here, man. Shout out to Dame for putting us up on game.
If it was anybody, it wasn't Leora, it was Dame.
Yeah. I guess on this streaming platform.
That's white supremacy.
All right, we got 3 more minutes, bro. We got 3 more minutes. 3 more minutes.
But of that kind of an energy. But I was able to go get myself educated because they put in so much work so that I didn't have to do all the shit that they did. And I still chose a different path for a little while just from instincts. But I knew that when I went to like private school, I was around white people.
This guy's a
gangster.
gangster. He went to private school.
And I saw how they were impressed with me. So I was like, I like, damn, I must be this strong because I'm black and they're white. I wonder if I could be this strong around black people. That's why I hit the hood, just to prove to myself that, and unconsciously I was insecure about it. I wanted to know if these hands work with black people. I thought it was just because I always thought it was just because they couldn't dance. I always looked at it like they was my fool. You understand what I'm saying? So I was like, I'm like looking at it. I'm like, why is y'all thinking these guys are tough? Like, that's why I used to get a Harvey Weinstein. And you see, I'm the guy that calls those guys out. Right. So I'd be like, how y'all think this guy's tough? And y'all, you know what I mean? I don't get it. So, there were things that Russell did that I liked a lot. There was things that Muhammad Ali did that I loved. Hey. I observed him. There was things that Martin Luther King did that I loved because he was beefing in the town that it was going.
But God forbid a Vlad call Dame out for his behavior. Can't do it. That dude's a culture.
Can't do it.
God forbid. Nope, I'm not scared of those. I'm the one that calls out the bullies. Oh, okay. You ain't the only one. This is crazy.
I come from a legacy of bullies. Everybody in your family was assistant bullies.
He telling y'all, bro. That's a crazy thing about it. He's telling y'all. He's telling on himself. And there's still gonna be people who watch this interview and all these other interviews and be like, Vulcans.
Yeah,
y'all niggas is hating.
Let me speak to that too, because Willie D says that you're a great motivational speaker, blah 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 blah. I'm not gonna say that's true or not true, but again, motivation is, again, I would argue, I think quite successfully, it's not a virtue to be motivated. Especially motivated to do all kind of evil things, to be a serial killer, to do all kind of crazy stuff. Just being a motivational speaker doesn't make it. You can motivate people to do the wrong things, right? So Dame's techniques and motivation, from what I've heard in the past and on here, are not always fair-minded. They're not always above board. They're not always without their own pitfalls and schemes in there, where somebody has to take an L. There has to be a boogeyman. All the evil things that he did. He talks about his nefarious ways that he got money when he was younger. Talks about his coming from a family of bullies, all that kind of stuff. That stuff we sweep under the rug. Yeah, I was like that. Yeah, I mean, I've done some bad. My family did some bad stuff. Whatever. That's okay.
He still holds those values though. Willie D.
But I'm just saying, whether he does or he doesn't, we can brush over that. That's fine. But what Lior did, no, that's evil forever. What YouTube does,
he's bullying us. That's what he's saying. Lior is bullying us.
Exactly.
It's just wicked. We always start out by saying, you know, whether right or wrong, but like the more we get into some of these interviews when we're listening, and I think the more you let somebody talk who doesn't make sense, the more they unravel. The longer you let them talk, the more they tell them themselves.
Yeah.
That's which is crazy because we've seen that a couple times where we started off like, man, I'm a supporter of this guy. I really believe in what he's talking about on some of this stuff. And by the end of the interview, for me personally, I'd be like, this you don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. Facts. You know?
Yeah, I think
he was in the church while I was outside talking. It's easy to talk about white people when they're not in front of you and you're not in the battle. I might not be so strong in Alabama or whatever, you know what I mean? But he was there like that, and I like the way he got people. I was like, how did he get black people to
love that point.
Down? It was such a genius way he got people in front of you, and you're not in the battle. It was going down. The things that Martin Luther King did that I love because he was beefing in the town that it was going down. He was in the church while I was outside talking. It's easy to talk about white people when they're not in front of you and you're not in the battle. I might not be so strong in Alabama or whatever, you know what I mean? But he was there like that, and I like the way he got people. I was like, how did he get black people to get just hit and watered down? It was such a genius plan to embarrass whoever was abusing them by not hitting, because I know what it's like. It's like if somebody hit me soft and I knocked them out, now I'm the bad guy just because I defended myself. So it was like, how did you get a whole lot of black people just to, you know, understand the strategy in that? And it worked so well, you know. So, and then it's Farrakhan, you know. Farrakhan taught me about farming. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we've never talked about the other stuff. We just talk about why is it that we don't learn how to grow our own food? How do we trust our oppressor to feed us? And why is it that we got to eat all these GMO seeds? And I go to his farm and I see children and people like growing, and it's a beautiful thing. And I'm like, damn, they never show that side of him. Because that's the side that we don't know how to, we don't control the stuff that makes us live. We don't.
Now he's saying, why do we trust our oppressor to feed us? Again, this is that well, you know, a flimsy language that doesn't really hold up. There are black farmers, there are white farmers, Asian farmers. You know, we've had black administration who's tasked with dealing with the agricultural industry. I'm a big critic again of the food industry, GMOs. You know, all kind of different stuff that's going on with our food right now. Some of our foods wouldn't even be accepted in other countries. Having said that, and agreeing to some extent with that, our oppressor, that part, I don't think it has really any place. It's not an oppressor. I get to choose what I eat. I get to choose where I shop. I can go get organic if I want to. And so I'm not being oppressed. I'm in a system of capitalism where people want to make $1. People want to get the cheapest thing they can get, and they're going to do what they can to get that. Is that them oppressing me? I don't know about that. Now, if they tell me how I have to buy their food, then perhaps. But I don't currently live in that system. I can choose otherwise. So I reject that notion of it being oppression.
Casual reduction.
I'm making a decision to choose to eat what I. Sorry, say that again.
What Dame has been doing this whole time is casual reductionism. It goes by a bunch of names: complex cause, fallacy, the single cause. But he's essentially saying assuming a single cause or reason when there are actually multiple causes or reasons. I.e., there's metrics, there's facts, there's statistics, there's other there's other not perspectives. Out of brain fart. There's other factors is the word I'm looking for that go into things that's happening. So when you say, man, everything that happens in here is because it is one thing, you're negating the 12 other things that could be affecting that. And again, it's used, those things are used to prey upon those types of tactics. Vulcan used that word earlier, and I thought it was a perfect characterization of what some of these guys do. that tactic is utilized and specifically utilized to elicit an emotional response. It's not utilized to engage your logic and reason. They actually prefer you not think too deep into what they're saying because it won't make sense, right? If you really think about it. They want you to get mad, they want you to be sad, they want you to feel hopeless when they utilize this, whether purposely or inadvertently. That's what it's designed to do.
Yeah, and you see that all the time in movies where it's like an innocent man meant to take the fall because people need somebody to blame things on. So it's like, hey, look, you're gonna have to we're gonna arrest this guy. Well, he's not. We know he didn't do it. What was that? Batman? In the movie Batman had to take the was it Batman had to take the fall? So because they needed some kind of a villain.
Oh yeah. They need someone to blame stuff. He said, "I'll be the bad."
It was
the city of Gotham needs a bad guy.
Somebody and Dame, and I don't want to just pick on him. This is a very common tactic, as you mentioned before. I'm gonna give you the villain. Now, this villain, we're not gonna be able to really quantify it. It's just some kind of nebulous, entity out there that's holding us back and not letting men be in the schools, and having our oppressors teach our kids, and all this little kind of stuff that he's saying.
The way that they run them for centuries.
Exactly. Even though you're at the PTA meeting and you see all the teachers, and you live in a predominantly black environment, with predominantly black people in the positions of power, and you're still going, the school system is out to get us and stuff like that. All this stuff is being said, but it takes the responsibility off the audience person who's listening, because Dame is blaming somebody outside of them. Blame gets to be the hero, the herald of truth.
Where'd you get your gang tactics from? Right? Your family was successful in the streets in certain phases, right? You grew up in the streets. Where you get those tactics from?
As
right?
bullies.
Yeah, bullies.
In private school.
Who's the original gangster in America? Who set up the gangster framework that we generally abide by till today? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Italians?
Yeah.
They's Italian. Hey,
Yeah.
Richie.
I'm saying it's just wicked, man.
I don't know.
Don't know who makes our food, our medicine. We generally don't own our buildings. We're here. We're just renting life, and that's the way they want it. And we're not conscious.
This game.
They gotta pay us for
ready.
Just that. Some people be like, man, if there's a war, whatever, I'm gonna just go be a farmer. Man, I lived on a farm for 2 months or a month just to observe. That is not an easy thing. You can't just say I'm gonna be a farmer. That's like saying I'm just gonna be a rapper and get my platinum record, or I'm gonna just get in the music business. It's a lot of different elements there. So we have to learn the fundamentals, and we can't forget that in history we were winning, and we can't let them erase that. So even down to the way we interpret the name Jesus, that's a European interpretation of the name. His name is Joshua. Why no one calls me Damien, anything but Damien wherever I go in the world? Why would we have to now say somebody's name with a European interpretation of the name and it didn't happen in Europe? That doesn't make sense other than control.
How could you tell right there?
All right, that's it. We'll close it out.
Yeah. Now the control thing, I'll tackle that last. It's not a European interpretation. It's a European writing of it. It's a rendering of it. It's not like it's an interpretation. It's like you're extracting meaning from it different because of the consonants that's being used to, to spell it out. Thanks for that, because I couldn't think of spell it out. So yeah, no, it's not. It's not an interpretation. Interpretation is important to use that word because that sounds more potent. Like, wow, it's a different interpretation, because interpretation means meaning. Meanings are important. We all know that intuitively. So if I say interpretation, I'm implying meaning. I'm implying the meaning that we have now is sinister. It's not right. But that's not what it is. He's talking about just it being spelled differently. Come on.
Which is crazy, because you're essentially saying Jesus' name is not Jesus, but we utilize it for Europe. How many of us speak Hebrew?
Yeah.
Like it's weird that he oversimplified it. He's looking to elicit an emotion by saying things that don't make sense. It doesn't make sense. If I start mass producing a Bible, I'm gonna mass produce the Bible to make sense, to be able to communicate with my target audience.
Yeah. Exactly. And so yeah, him saying only I think of as control. No, I'm putting it in the language of I actually speak. I speak English, so I'm gonna render whatever word I'm trying to bring to my particular demographic of people and language. I'm gonna put in that language. So we don't have that consonant in our language, but I'm gonna change it to a consonant that we do have. I gotta do a combination of consonants to get it right. That's what I'm gonna do. There's no sinister plot there, people.
This translation of the Hebrew text actually did come from Europe. America came from Europe. The founders, they're from Europe, guys. That's why it makes sense. We speak English, maybe not the King's English, but we speak English. It was derived from Europe. We didn't come over here.
And English is a very important point, y'all, because there are a lot of linguists that have pointed out that hip hop could not have arisen in any other language outside of English because the English has so many synonyms.
Facts.
English is a weird language to learn because things can mean all kind of things in English.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm about to wrap this up. I'm about to rap. I got a rap for my presence.
Definitely. So let's wrap this up, guys. Any closing thoughts?
Go ahead.
All right, I started off. Yeah, exactly, y'all. We're gonna finish this. Tune in next time on Tuesday. Again, I'm your most humble servant, Enos. Yeah, some of the reasons why we're doing this show is just to help, our reasoning skills. So, like I said, we want to highlight critical thinking, our ability to recognize faulty reasoning. That's what we're doing right now, pointing out logical fallacies, of course, and cognitive biases. So this is, like I said in the beginning, this is going to help enhance your decision making, increase a lot of self-awareness, improve. This is what actually motivated me to do this show, improve your creativity. You're seeing it live right now and in effect. So again, join us next week, Tuesday. I'm going to let my brothers go ahead and give their closing statements and we can close out. Starting off with, let's go with Fresh.
Listen, guys, like I always say after these pods, these conversations that we have, we're not demonizing anybody, man. We're actually normalizing. We are showing you that these people are flawed. They're human beings just like you. The problem that we have is when they set themselves up as the people with all the answers, and half of the stuff that they're saying doesn't make sense. I agree with several statistics. I agree with several points of view that Dame presents. I'm actually right. I like his attitude, and my brothers will tell you, I'm more of a Dame. I'm more willing to get it popping off if you mess with my folks. But the problem is that's how I feel. Those are my emotions. They actually don't have anything to do with an objective perspective. It doesn't have anything to do with objective thinking, logical thinking, using reason to analyze the situation. So many people will have you believe they will present their opinions as fact and want you and expect you, not only want you, but expect you to follow along. Oftentimes they'll ridicule if you don't. The problem is that they can't lead you anywhere that makes sense because they are basing it off of their emotions and their perspective. At the very least, if you're not going to utilize logic, you're not going to utilize reasoning, which we are encouraging you to do. We're begging you to do. At least base your non-logical and non-reasonable reasoning thoughts off your own perspective and your own emotions. What people like Dame, right? Not just Dame, people like Dame, people like Umar, people like some of your pastors at church, right? People like some of your motivational speakers, they are counting on the fact that you're not going to question anything that they're saying. They kind of need it. They need you not to question what they're saying, because pretty much what we've been doing right now is unraveling and pointing out several things that just don't make sense. It's not hate, right? It's just critique. We're looking at what's coming out of his mouth. We don't read minds. We can't read. We're not interpreting. We're not reading in between the lines. We're just listening to what the man is saying. We're listening to what he's saying, and we're saying, that don't jive. That math doesn't math. All we're asking, we're trying to, week after week, all we're trying to do is encourage you to think for yourself. Think using your logic. Think using your reason. Analyze what people are saying, and then you can pick and choose what pieces and parts of what they're saying you agree with. That's what you do anyways. There's just a method to it. I don't disagree with everything Dame says. The problem is I don't agree with everything he says, and he kind of needs you to be sheep and just follow him no matter what he says. Are people like this for us, or they're just against them?
All right, Vulcan.
So everybody, we thank you for tuning in. Send your questions in, send comments in, send videos, books, quotes, anything you have that you want us to address. Again, the purpose of the show is for us to be to do our best to break things down. We don't have all the answers, but with those of us who are on the panel, and with the right amount of time and insight, we're going to do our best to tackle a lot of these issues to help people understand things in a better way. And hey, call us out, critique us, point it out. We want to improve. As you saw earlier on the show, when we critique our own selves. So we appreciate y'all tuning in. Keep on supporting us. Like and subscribe, share it. We're going to tackle everything from theology to science to different cultural perspectives, racial issues, socioeconomics, whatever you could think of, we're down to tackle it and go point for point with it and help people understand things better. So thanks for tuning in. Vulcan Soapbox out.
Live long and prosper.
Peace.